A very good morning to all our listeners. You are welcome this morning to Agric Panorama. This morning we are going to be looking at agriculture, and the topic for today is: has agriculture transformed our economy over the last 65 years? And in the studio with me today are, please introduce yourselves.
My name is Kwame Amakohene. 83 Ɔdadeɛ, and member of 83 Farming Group and the host.
Okay. And our other guest.
My name is Gibson Ketiku, another 83-year group member. In fact, I'm the secretary to the group, and I'm also a member of the 1983 Agric year group Agric Club. Thank you.
Do we have anybody on Zoom? Yes, and we have my senior man, live, Edifico.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You hear me?
Yes. And who else do we have on? We have Mr. Oforinyako. Can you hear us?
Hello, everybody.
Yes, good morning. We are still waiting for a few more to join us. Today we are looking at the reflections on agriculture 65 years after independence and the way forward. But before we start, let me just quickly take you through some of our social media handles and our studio lines. If you want to listen to us, you can listen to us via our Zeno Radio app or the Ɔdadeɛ Radio app, or Facebook live stream on Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. On Instagram we are at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Our WhatsApp and SMS number 02000 92 92 5, and our studio lines 03 0255 1014. So very quickly, let me just go straight to my panel members, and I want to first of all give the opportunity to Edifico. Since you came up with this topic, just maybe a little brief history if you can, because over the last 65 years since independence, we started from a subsistence level where we had very small holder farmers as the model for our farming, and then we moved on to state farms where we had some state-owned farms. We tried that, and we've now reverted back to private sector where individuals are now moving into commercial farming. But have we made progress?
This is the program for today. It was supposed to be a meeting.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Thomas is saying something.
Yeah. Thomas, can we hear you? Hello, Thomas.
No. I don't have anything to say now.
Oh, how about you? You were talking. We could hear you. Well, introduce yourself.
All right. Thomas Ansre of the 81-year group.
Okay.
And a member of the Agric subcommittee for Ɔdadeɛ Radio.
Thank you very much. So, Fico, you have the floor.
Okay. Good morning to you all from New York. I wanted to really join this program because of the importance. So, I just last night we had the Ɔdadeɛ North America social night, because it went very well. The Ɔdadeɛ Radio covered it live too, and Pacheco was the host, and then we had a lot of people from other schools also tuning in. We do this every quarter to just come and take some stress off.
Yes, Figo, I slept through. I was waiting to join the program and I slept through. But before we go on, I think I've actually forgotten to do something very important. So allow me just a minute. We want to use the opportunity to wish all our gallant farmers Aiko for the good work that they've been doing, especially that the national best farmer came to our very own Ɔdadeɛ Srebo. And we want to use this opportunity to say a big congratulations to him. And hopefully next week we will get him and a previous winner, Senior Jimbot, in our studios to be able to discuss and talk about their awards. Yeah, so Figo, please go on.
Okay, so as I continue from where Zonda, first time I'm hearing and seeing our able midfielder Keteku in the Keteku after so
Oh,
many
you know
years.
him, eh?
Yes, and I wish yesterday he was manning the midfield for us so that we would be more offensive than defensive minded. But that is for another day.
Okay.
So, bro, good morning and greetings.
Yeah, good
And
morning.
just like Donda said, I mean, a country that is not able to feed itself, a country that has vast arable land and water resources, is an indictment on the entire country. But from the colonial times, the historical perspective which Zonda tried to put today's discussion, the reflections over 6 decades of independence, one would have thought that the colonial structures during the colonial era, I mean, the emphasis was on cash crops, which the colonial rulers needed. So you could see that the emphasis was more on cocoa, and all the kind of things. But post independence, because of political uh, leadership at that time, the first government tried to go with the state farms structure, and many people felt that that was where we made the first wrong move. It is a very debatable issue. They feel that the Gettysburg economy was so capitalist oriented, so that when we tried to do that socialist experiment in the First Republic, it did not really take off well. So the state farms were there, but in terms of their efficiency or their productivity was a little bit not as should have been. Correspondingly, around the same time, other countries that were newly independent in the Far East and the rest, they were also looking at Agric seriously, and some of them straight away went with the plantation system, together with even for their cash crops and export commodities. So post Kwame Nkrumah, when he was out of office, all these state farms declined. All the state farms declined. And people have also made the point that because it was state, that idea at the background of the mind of the Ghanaian was that so those who still believe that state farms would have worked, look at the managerial inefficiencies which was in place at that time as the cause of why the farms did not really become so effective throughout. So if you look at the big step taken in the First Republic, these farms were oil palm plantations all over the place. So many, I mean, it was a very big investment in agriculture. But once the managerial, those in charge could not handle it well, what we were expecting did not live up to expectation. So then, still, Ghanaians must be fed. We try to go back to small holdings here and there. My problem, and which last night I was looking at, is that I've identified that the main issue for me is one of Agric finance. That is the issue with, I believe, is the key to whatever situation we are facing now. We need to look at Agric finance. Why am I saying that? The institutions we set up to help the local farmer or farming, they have not lived up to expectation. I mean, if I'm to mark them, I'll give them 5/10, because I'm looking at Agric Development Bank, and I'm looking more importantly to the rural banks. If the rural banks are done good lending, they are done good recovery, and they were supporting farmers, however small those credits, Agric credits they were given, would have seen a much more improved agriculture productivity. But the problem with us and not only Ghana, is that when a project doesn't seem to work, instead of us sitting back and going to look at the whole thing and re-strategize or whatever, we just abandon that concept altogether. So right now, most of the institutions we have that finance Agric, they are paying lip service to it. So I don't even know whether the rural banks are still in existence. But the idea of the rural banks was to look at this aspect of Agric. Most of the farmers are in these areas. So that is where we are. Instead of probably saying that, look, let us restructure our Agric credit lending institutions. Let's not throw them away, but let's look at it and see. I mean, there's no way each of these Agric credit institutions should be lending for trade and imports. If you read the speech, you read the speech of the National Farmers and Fishermen Winners Association yesterday at the ceremony. He made the point, and we'll come to that in the course of this discussion, that most of our Agric finance institutions are lending for trade and imports in other sectors. So, because that is what they think brings them more quick returns. But as a nation, we need to know that with government subsidizing A and B or whatever for the sector, access to credit, and access to credit must be immediate, reliable, and forthcoming. The bureaucracy for the farmer to get access to credit must be reduced to the barest minimum. It's very, very important. I mean, I worked with Ghana Commercial Bank. When I got to Ghana Commercial Bank, we had an Agric department that was just about folding up. And when you talk to that Agric department was supposed to help with Agric lending and then go to talk to the farmers and the guys there were top caliber people who had finished Legon and UST in Agric and who were specializing in Agric finance. So eventually, when you talk to them, they said, oh, when we give them the money, the hustle of going to recovery and this and so many things, and then that group was merged with another group, existing group, development finance group, and all these Agric guys became bankers overnight, regular mainstream bankers overnight. So I'll just, as a way of introduction, initial submission, and I'll come back later with others also have their turn, make the point that we need to look at Agric finance. We need to look at, if the last point I want to make is, it is not too late in the day. The government can decide as a way of policy to engage the banking sector and convince them that if each bank could devote 25% or 20%, 1/5 of its lending towards Agric, we can still have a very good recovery as far as Agric finance is concerned. All the banks, if even the private banks are not so interested, the state-owned banks should be able to do 20% of lending exclusively towards Agric sector. And I think that will be the way forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fico, for your reflections. Let me come to Mr. Is it Oketeku? Keteku, yes. Yes. What are your reflections so far on agriculture 65 years after independence and the way forward?
Okay. I think on the whole, I agree with Senior Edifico a lot. Because I believe that 65 years is a long way away. And we should have been a little bit more ahead of where we are at the moment. But it looks like we haven't made much progress, because most of the attempts that we made, on the Agric sector or in the Agric sector have not really yielded, the expected, returns, or maybe, yeah, that's right. So what I'm saying is that I think a lot also depends on the government. You see, government have to really look at its policies once again. And Ghana being an agrarian country, there's no point in sitting down in Ghana and then be importing food items, especially the staple food that we eat in Ghana here. We even import from the deserts, countries, tomatoes, plantains and all this and all that. And really, it's really not the best for the nation. The government can do a lot. First of all, with our land tenure systems, and then again with the policy to support Agric. Like Senior Difficult said, financing is very important to the farmers, because most of the farmers are smallholder farmers and they don't need much capital. But the money must come at the right time, and there should be a system put in place so that the money can be recovered. The one major problem we also have is the poor.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One major area that we also have to look at is the irrigation systems. Previous governments like the Champon regime and all that started this irrigation systems which were very good. But today almost all of them have broken down. So most of our farmers are still using the rain-fed agriculture. And rain-fed agriculture is just like gambling. You can't be sure whether the rains will come at the right time for you or not. So I believe that all these policies and structures that have not been taken seriously must be looked at once again, because a lot depends on the government. The government cannot sit down for the people of the nation, mostly farmers, to continue to consume food products which are imported from it's a real failure. Yes, it's a real failure, and I think that this is the areas that we have to look at, so that we can first of all feed ourselves and think about also exporting, exporting value-added products, so that we can actually generate more foreign exchange for the other sectors of the economy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you too. So you have identified irrigation as one of the key factors, that we need to look going forward.
That's right.
Mr. Mwakwini.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. 65 years is a long way. I don't remember. Well, I wasn't born. I wasn't there. But what I can see, or what I've seen, and whilst Senior Difficult was talked about the cocoa and things like that, yes. Agric industrialization was there before. Why am I saying that? Because when I go to my hometown, Asante Bekwai, I could see some sort of infrastructure. There are a lot of warehousing. The warehouses were built around the Bekwai railway station. That place, I could see a warehouse belonging to Cadbury and Fry, and some big European companies that I think at that time was buying cocoa, Lyons that does tea and some things like that. And then you could see also that I got a cocoa farm from my great-grand uncle, who got it from his uncle, and if you see the layout that they had at that time, so there was some structure that that thing comes in, goes into a warehouse, trains picks it up, bound for Takoradi, because that's what the railway line from Bekwai goes to Takoradi and things like that. So it's something that I see. I also see when I go to the villages, if you see a good building, and you ask, now it's a bit dilapidated, but if you ask, it will tell you that it belongs to a so and so who was a cocoa farmer. So you see those structures also there, that yes, cocoa farming used to be something great, and cocoa farmers were rich in the villages, and then there were structures at that time. I will identify Agric infrastructure as one of the problems. Now I have to bring down Agric infrastructure, and I also see that our agriculture really has not transformed our national economy or developed it very well. You see, like Edifiko said, the colonial ones was just to take our cocoa,
The primary products.
and go. And the infrastructure was there for it. You had the railway, you had the harbors, and things like that. That picks up these things to Europe. When we took over, well, I don't see too much of the primary product being turned into finished products in country. For example, yesterday we were coming from the farm and I saw this maize, a woman that buy maize, a whole Kia truck full of maize, you know, and I was just thinking, where is this maize going to? And it's going for our normal mouth organ. And that's the frying, and then this thing, you know. I was just looking at it. I said, yeah,
We
is
are
that
going
where
to
the
boil.
maize
We are just going to boil it. And
boil
eat.
it and eat a full truck? And then we go to Ofanko. I think we also saw a full truck of sugar cane also passing, you know. And I was say, hey, this sugar cane to where is it going to? It's also going for chop. You see, the maize is not going for, let's say, corn oil industry. We are not seeing that. The sugar cane is not going to any sugar factory, you know. And that is where I see that the Agric has no impact on development, the development of the general economy. You know, I'm not seeing soya going into making soya milk, or what do we drink here a lot that has been imported all the time. Also the soya things, you know. And when you don't have it in that sort of industrial linkage where farming is being farm product is being produced in to go to industry to really produce finished products and things like that, you don't get all the benefits out of agriculture. It becomes just something to sustain yourself. Also, with that, immediately you can see that the various byproducts from things like that. This morning I saw a truckload of plantain. What is the plantain going to? It's going to the market. It's going to be what? Just chop and things like that.
But it's not a bad thing in itself. I mean, in that we are consuming it, you know, because people have been crying that most of our products are now being imported. So we have our own local produce that we are consuming. It's not a bad thing in itself. It's contributing to GDP.
Yes, in a way, but also I expected that, you said 65 years. Yes. I expected that by now we are doing something with this plantain that is being in either plantain chips or things like that. Yeah. And then when you have it as an industry like that, especially the byproducts, you know, the plantain skin, or cassava skin, or the yam skin also does a lot of things. You know, you can do it for animal feed. So from the plantain skin, somebody can have a good amount of it that he can also build a factory that is going to do animal feed. Animal feed goes to the animals, and then we are having, you know, the meat and things like that. That linkage, that mindset of having agriculture as a catalyst to develop your nation, you know, it's not there. I don't know why and how.
I can tell you why. It's because we are not investing in research. And the research is the one that will really direct us as to where we are going with some of these byproducts that you are talking about. And even when it has been done, it is not linked to the industry as you are saying.
But Senior Zonda, even if we don't have research here, I tell you, when you look at Mr. Google, it will tell you what all these things can be used for, so that you can also go into it. I mean, when you take plantain, even plantain, you have the plantain stuff, but the one that we cut, the plantain stock that we cut, you know, it's paper.
Yeah.
And I think some girls use it for pad.
Really?
Yes, it's there. You remember I think the president gave them some money to. It's paper, and it's for cotton wood and things like that. You know, it's there.
So Kofi, I'm not cutting you. So the point you are making, if I'm to get you right, is that we must have the linkages there, and then more importantly, we must produce more so that the rest will go into the industry. Because if there's a consumption problem, we want to chop first, like the mouth organ thing, and the killy and all the whatever.
Yes.
We need to have more production so that the excess can go into industry. Because we cannot also send what we have now into industry when people want to chop.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. You produce more
Right.
for industry, and the excess goes to chop.
Hey, Charlie, we will start for Ghana.
No, but where you are, that is how it is.
I have a comment to
Yes,
make.
please.
Go ahead.
So we really have a production issue, or we have issues with distribution and storage. Because when I read the news, what I see is a whole bumper harvest out there in Kumasi and Suhum and all those places, with a lot of plantain rotting on the farms. So are we talking about insufficient production levels, or basically managing what we have and efficiently distributing them? For instance, you buy a plantain for what? 2 cities each or 3 cities each here in Accra. And then the other day, I was looking at a clip. The lady said she had to sell the whole bunch for 150.
Yeah.
So I think we don't have a production issue. We have a distribution issue. We have a storage issue. And that's where we need to focus on. We have a lot of food.
That is very debatable, but since Kwame has the floor, I will want him to finish, because Ayen's starch factory did not get on well because they couldn't get the cassava to do the starch. So that is another example where I can cite you that the factory under Kufuor's time or whatever, but there wasn't enough cassava for it. So if cassava was being produced in large quantities, that factory, and the point Kwame is making is that industry would have taken off, because we don't have the industry. Like, it's a good point Kwame is making. So there are instances where you realize that you need more for you to feed the factories. You need more to feed the factories.
But are we addressing the obvious issue? I mean, we see piles of plantain rotting. So if you say we are not producing a lot, I don't think that's a fact. We have the plantain. We have to manage the distribution. For instance, we use Zipline, right, to distribute medication in Ghana, correct? Are we exploring more efficient ways to distribute? There are commercial drones in the process, okay, where we can move things. Now, Zonda raised a good point. If we have local consumption, that's a good thing. Because we can always think about, okay, we export and use the money for what? Most of the time ends up in people's pockets, mansions and stuff like that. First thing first, if we can distribute efficiently, then we won't be buying plantain for what, 5 cities each.
Yeah, but the point Kwame is making, and is that because of this mindset, that is why we don't have the industries at all. Because we always think of consumption, and we don't have the industry at all. Yesterday, the speech, the guy gave it.
Let's face the facts, okay? We have the production. You are saying we do not produce enough. And that's why we don't have industries to operate. And I'm saying there's the production level. Half of the production, isn't it the fact that plantain is rotting in somewhere in Bekwai or Begro or some places? It's a fact.
Is it okay for some of us to?
Yeah. Okay. So please let's hear from others quickly, because I was going to come to you, Oforinya. I was going to come to you for you to give your submissions on your reflections on agriculture. So, Kwame,
Yes.
let's Kwame land and then.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me land here because I think I touched on a few things.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one is the mindset. It should be planned that we are transforming our nation through agricultural development. In that sense, then I see that the whatever we said, the infrastructure, the various linkages, transportation, all those things will come into play because we want to transform the economy. Transforming the economy also means that we are going to add value to whatever we are growing. So if there are a lot of plantains and it's getting rotten, that means there is a problem. Plantain should not get rotten. It should be used for something. And that's something should come. Actually, I believe that when we are talking about modernizing of agriculture, what we should be looking at is not from the direction of the farm to the industry. What we should be looking at is the industry putting demand on farm to produce what they need for it. If we can turn around our agriculture to look at it in that way, that we need this type of tomatoes, we need this volume, and at this price, then we will be solving a lot of the problems. Because when you are producing and you produce and you are begging people to come for it or hoping that somebody is going to take it at price that you don't even know, the person will give you a price and things, then we are not practicing, let me put it on, agriculture. We are doing some farming or gardening. So agric infrastructure is very important, and the structure, how we put the structure, that is basically the transporting everything to the industries and industrialization of agriculture, I think is lacking in our 65 years of this. And later on, I'll talk about the farming and the clearing of farming to ready to the production.
Okay, so thank you, Kwame. Thank you, Kwame. We are discussing accelerating agriculture through value addition, and we are also looking at reflections on agriculture 65 years after independence. Earlier on, Mr. Fico identified Agric finance. Mr. Keteku also identified irrigation. Kwame has identified Agric infrastructure. I'm going to go to my other panelists very shortly, but before I do that, let me quickly acknowledge our sponsor of Agric Panorama, Nationwide Technologies. Nationwide Technologies Limited, distributors of Solnox Advanced Fuel Conditioner as an environmental green product. Solnox is proven to reduce fuel consumption, reduce running costs, reduce emissions, prolong the lifespan of your engine. The name is difficult to pronounce. I'm finding it hard to pronounce this name. Takes you further, faster, and cleaner. Nationwide Technologies Limited is an ISO certified company. Its services include fuel marking, product authentication, ultrasound tank testing, tank stratification, and calibration. To obtain their products, please contact 054-012-0694 or 054-167-0666. So back to our topic, reflections on agriculture 65 years after independence. And basically, Mr. Ansre, do we have Mr. Ansre on the line? No. Okay. What about Mr. Marty?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Some of us are here.
Yes. So quickly, we would like to hear from you before we go to Mr. Oforinyako, because he has raised some serious issues. But I want to hear your reflections on how far we've gone so far with.
For 65 years, when we are still not able to feed ourselves, then there's a lot to do. And for me, I've heard, some of the issues have been highlighted, but as to which one is priority and not is where we are not getting it right. Until we are able to feed ourselves, nothing is going to work. We are going to be at cost 90. Because you are going to be producing oil or maybe produce cocoa, get a foreign exchange, turn around, spend the same foreign exchange abroad and buy maize, tomato, tin fish, toothpick, toilet roll, and bring it back. So in reality, you haven't earned anything. Okay, again, when we look at education, if a child is not well fed, there is nothing you're going to teach that child that will sink in. If you look at developed countries, the first thing they do for kids in the morning is they make sure they've had very good breakfast. And in the afternoon, they have very good lunch. And if you look at the way those children do so well, it's because they have been well fed, balanced diet. Let's look at our secondary schools. Unfortunately, even pre-sec we are talking, sometimes the food is not enough. And this is supposed to be one of the top schools. So we must first look at sustainability, how to feed ourselves. We are nowhere near there. Last I checked the records, we are somewhere producing between 40 and 45% of maize of what we consume, and about another 60% is imported. 65 years, this is not good news. I hear people talking about foodstuff getting rotten on the farms, etc., etc. But it doesn't mean there is enough food. Okay, it means there's an issue of the food getting to where it's supposed to go. Some farms have their harvest season, unfortunately, during the rainy season. There is no accessibility. For me, for a couple of months to get to my own farm, I have to park my 4x4 and use a very high horsepower tractor just as transportation to my farm, because when it rains, accessibility was very, very bad. So there are so many farms that are producing not enough, but because they harvest in the raining season, the food cannot get to where it's supposed to go. So it adds to the shortage. So when you see on the news, plantain rotten, banana rotten, it doesn't mean we are still producing enough. We are not. Okay. So there is a lot of issues, but we need to sit down and then carefully put them in the right perspective. Which one comes with it? What do we need to tackle? So we are talking about financing. So you go and finance somebody who is in the location where he can produce so much, but cannot get it to the market. How is he going to pay you? How is the farmer going to pay? Yeah. Okay, we have tomato farmers. I've been to so many tomato farms. Sometimes they come and pick my tractor because, accessibility is so poor. And then they cart it to a place where the trust can come and pick it. It adds cost to it. Okay, so we are talking about Burkina taking advantage. But you go to Burkina and look at what they are doing. They are not joking. They are not joking. Go to Agric, they are not joking.
So you identify. You identify.
Agric infrastructure.
Agric infrastructure as one of the key elements of part of the causes to our lack of development in the agric sector.
Yes, the infrastructure is not there. Even though we have small-scale farmers, medium-scale farmers, and some large-scale farmers, even the infrastructure is not there for them to access.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you. I also want to hear Mr. Forenyako's reflections on 65 years after independence. Mr. Forenyako, you have the floor.
So, my observation is this, okay? Now, it's probably a fact that we don't produce enough, but whatever we produce, we still let about half of it go to waste, okay? So that compounds the production issue. So I look at it from this point of view: efficient infrastructure, which includes maybe railway links to the production areas, making the little that we produce available to where people need it the most. We can't produce every single farm produce in huge quantities because, one, if I'm a farmer and I do my feasibility studies on whatever just to get into agriculture, and I realize that half of my stuff is going to go to waste because I can't ship them from the production site to the consumption areas, well, I'm just going to give that up and probably come to Accra and try to find something else to do. So I insist, number one, transportation is the major auxiliary to every development, every production level. So if we have a poor distribution system, it's going to affect how much we have, and also will not encourage people to go into agriculture. Because if there is no production, there's no consumption, there is no demand, I mean, like a sustainable demand or my ability to recoup my investment by selling in the areas that need it the most, then what's the point? So first, let's tackle those areas. Distribution, transportation, storage. This year, I saw a clip, Kumasi so much yam, and yam has a very short shelf life. So what's gonna happen is that half of it is gonna rot. So what are we gonna do about it? Okay, so distribution, I insist, first look at distribution. Transportation, make sure that the little we produce get to the areas where they will be in demand, so that the farmers are encouraged. If you spend so much money producing so much of yams and you don't recoup your money, what's going to happen next time? It's going to discourage you. So let's look at that. I mean, how the government can pump in money to go into the wrong hands. People will turn around, use the money to build houses or blow it. Let's find out ways to improve the distribution.
Okay.
If I'm considering coming to Accra to do whatever work I can find, then I would think about, okay, if there's an efficient distribution of my product, then I may probably stay at Komeu or wherever instead of making it out in Accra. So let's look at that. I am just going to conclude by saying distribution is very important. So we can focus on that as a first step.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Ansre? Hello, Mr. Ansre? We seem to be missing Mr. Ansre. You know, I wanted to also hear his thoughts on where we are now. But if we look at the celebrations that were had yesterday, their main topic was accelerating agriculture development through the value chain addition. So obviously our leaders and our decision makers also realize that we are not developing, they need to accelerate it. And if we've been taught anything by COVID, we know that, you know, during COVID, the big countries that we used to import from were not ready to send food to us, and therefore we needed to become our own, depend on ourselves. Okay? And we've also realized that recently also, you know, climate change has brought a lot of issues. So as Mr. Keteku indicated, because we for so long depended on rain-fed agriculture, the climate has changed and it's affecting a lot of production levels. You know, there are so many other factors, post-harvest losses as we are identifying, and some is coming through how we have managed, you know, the transportation system, our storage and stuff, you know. And I think it's all to do with how we have approached agriculture generally.
Zinazona,
Yeah.
let me try and put it into some perspective. I will draw maybe three basic chain when I talk about agric infrastructure. And I'll put one as a primary infrastructure. This is when you develop the land itself. You know, land development. I mean, I tell you, I see what tractors are doing and on what land they are working on, that is not farming. That's the tractor being on some land. The land itself is not developed for agriculture.
So you are saying that, no, I'm not cutting, but you are saying that if we are going to go in commercial farming, we have to really look at.
It doesn't even have to be commercial.
Okay.
Any sort of farming.
Okay.
So your land should be prepared for agriculture use. You can use small machines, you can use, but the land, and maybe later, I just want to put in the three, and maybe later we break down what is the land clearing I'm talking about, which is basically the no stumps and the stones and things like that. You know, whilst you are doing that, I'm putting it in primary first. The primary is really getting the land. And then when I'm saying this, sometimes we forget about the guys who are doing the fishery and then the animal husbandry. Something has to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know, that's basic. That has to be prepared. With crop production, whilst you are preparing the land, you know, you come and see some water bodies and things like that. That also is the irrigation that we are talking about. That has to be developed. When you start doing it, you see somebody will have a spring water somewhere, somebody will have some small river somewhere. Is developed as an irrigation something. Whilst you are doing that, you will see that there are some places that maybe not arable or something like that, so that roads can come, housing can come there. You can't put the house on the place that is good, you know. So basically, you have the road, you have the irrigation, and you have the land which is prepared for farming as one of your primary things that you do when you are doing this infrastructure development, which is the primary one. Then the same infrastructure goes to the storage of your primary things on the farm. That is first storage. I will take the second one, the distribution network that we are talking about now. That is also something. Somebody should be at the farm, go to the farm gates, gather them all, you know, and whilst he's doing that, there's a road and things. So the distributor or aggregator or whatever in the middle that is going to supply to the market and industries have to be there, you know. So the structure should be that way, because you cannot have an industry who wants so many tons of something, of a correct product, you know. That person going to the farm, one Kojo's farm, Kwesi's farm, there should be something. He needs some amount at a particular time at a particular price. There should be somewhere, the distribution that we're talking about, somewhere in the middle should be somebody doing those type of jobs, you know, and then he can take it even to the market for chop or to industry. So that is what I mean in total as agricultural infrastructure. We have to look at the structure, the infrastructure, have somebody who's looking at it and developing it. If it's railway for the distribution, if it's aircraft, this is whatever it is. So two, the land preparation for production itself or whatever animal husbandry, that primary one, the distribution network in the middle, and then we go to the industry or the markets. They will also have their own problems. We can start now, you know, breaking them down and seeing their problems and then developing it. But that is the structure I'm talking about when I talk about Agric infrastructure development. We should look at that. If we don't look at that, we will have somebody, a tractor coming in 2 years cry also. You know, because if that tractor is going onto a place which is not prepared for agriculture, he will hit a stone, he will hit something, it will go off. You know, you can bring trucks, heavy trucks. If the road is not good, you have problems. You know, so many things. So I look at these three things, and then we have to develop it. We have to look at it.
Okay,
that's the way.
So I'm going to move to the next level, because these are reflections that we are all having on. Why we haven't been.
Zunda, let me just chip into what Kwame said. Sorry to cut in. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. The topic for the discussion yesterday, the award ceremony, was accelerating.
Yes.
So it gives the sense of that we are an agency approach must be attached to this accelerating the development of Agric. And from what Kwame is saying, I think our policy makers must go back and put a timeline on whatever they want to do. We need something in the short term, something in the medium, and then the long term. Yesterday, in the speech, they said 100 million has been allocated for farmers. And the farmers were asking for 1 billion, and they've decided to give 100 million, 1/10 of it, no problem. Now, because of the urgency, we want to jumpstart, I will use that term, jumpstart the acceleration. I'm thinking that we must focus more on the commercial farmers, the large-scale commercial farmers, and the medium commercial farmers before looking at the small scale. And somebody will say, why is Eddie saying that? I think when you look at the Zimbabwe experiment, the commercial farmers, the large-scale commercial farmers, were very key in their agricultural success before the Mugabe had issues with them. They had to leave and all that, and then they decided to sell their farms to small-scale farmers. So I'm thinking that in the short term, whatever resources we have, let's devote, say, 40% exclusively to the big commercial farmers, because the big commercial farmers, they have overcome the initial bottlenecks which we are addressing already. The big commercial farmers can get their stuff to the market easily. Let's give them more resources in the short term so that they can expand more. Then we come to the medium commercial farmers, and then we so if I have 10 cedis, I'm going to give 4 cedis to the big commercial farmers, give 3 cedis to the medium, and then the rest, whatever, to the for at least a period of, say, 5 years, and after which we can go back and look at how we allocate resources. If we want to allocate resources across board equally, we may make only a marginal marginal progress. So let's focus more on those who have developed now. Let them expand more, because we want to solve a problem in the short run before we go on to other issues. Thank you.
So if Fico was the Agric minister, this is the approach that he would take. And in fact, he actually jumped to what I was going to ask, that it seems that over the years, all the 65 years, we have known our problems. Why are we not able to solve these problems? Why aren't we able to address it properly? Every year we have a theme for our Farmers' Day, and that theme, when it comes up, you realize that we are not able to, address it as we are supposed to. So if we are to look at what we ought to do to change the narrative, what would it be? Your thoughts, Mr. Kido, what would it be?
Thank you very much.
Can I make a comment?
Okay. Somebody wants to make a
comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I make a comment? Okay. So, having lived in 2 different continents or 2 different areas on the globe, around the globe, I see 2 big differences in how we approach things in Ghana. There is no accountability. There is no responsibility. People do what they want. It's not so. We look at always, let's say, the US as a model. Absolute accountability. There are key performance. You have to make sure you deliver. Timelines, everything. Attitude is number 1. What are we going to do if a supervisor or somebody in charge of, let's say, processing loans and stuff like that for farmers, there's no follow-up? Their interest is what the other 10% they're going to get. There is no oversight. the big boss is also taking a cut. So, in effect, nothing gets done and nobody's held accountable. You see, I can make comparisons. We are trying to find solutions. If you call a meeting in the US, 7 o'clock, right? It's not 7:30. And that's our attitudes. The reason why for 65 years we don't make significant progress starts from our attitudes. Nobody takes responsibility. Nobody is held accountable. That's the issue we have. Number two, we have to get proper organization of how the farmers must work together. You can't just say, okay, Mr. A should have, let's say, 20% or 200,000 cedis to expand his farms. Let's look at the model other countries use. They have farmers associations. Let's say the farmers in Latte come together. We need a loan of so much with certain guarantees. We have to produce so much. And then there is oversight. There are leaderships in every place. We don't have that in Ghana. We depend on individuals. This year they produce so much, next year they may not, and that kind of thing. So they need to be organized into groups and hold the groups accountable. Because if we allocate money to produce, let's say, sugar cane, or let's say eggplants, then you have to have the structure in place, the group in place, and the reporting structure so that they can be held accountable. The key word here should be accountability. So we can spend, the Ministry of Agriculture has allocated 20 million cedis to increase whatever. The money is going to who? And who is going to be held accountable? What are the timelines for deliverables? What are the expectations? Who is monitoring it? That is where efficiency comes in. We don't do that here. And then we turn it into personal attacks.
Okay, so we have to go on a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion. We've been looking at reflections on agriculture, 65 years of our independence and our way forward. We've been going through the history and identifying some of the causes. When we come back, we'll turn ourselves into our great ministers and propose ideas on how we can make it better. We'll also listen to what the president himself had to say yesterday with regards to the Farmers' Day and what they intend to do. We'll look a little bit at that when we come back. Thank you very much.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
May I please have your attention? Nationwide Technologies Limited is a proud sponsor of Agric Panorama program on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Nationwide Technologies Limited, distributors of Solnox Advanced Fuel Conditioner. As an environmentally green product, Solnox is proven to reduce fuel consumption, reduce running costs, reduce emission, prolong the lifespan of your engine. Solnoxico takes you further, faster and cleaner. Nationwide Technologies Limited is an ISO certified company. Its services include fuel marking, product authentication, ultrasound tank testing, tank stratification and calibration. To obtain your product, please contact 05401 20694 or 0541 670666. Nationwide Technologies Limited is a proud sponsor of Agric Panorama program on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Thank you for your attention.
What does the Bible say? And what sort of light does it throw on any life-related issue? John chapter 1 verse 5 states, "And the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not." Light for Life is a Christian panel discussion program on all life-related issues and how the Bible helps us in its day-to-day application. Beloved, my name is Reverend Gordon Kwashi, and I invite you to join me and my guests on the Light for Life program on Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online this and every Sunday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I trust that as we engage in this Light for Life program, we'll all be able to say to our God, "In thy light we shall see light." God richly bless you as you tune in.
I don't know what I would do without him. Whom shall I fear? There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love.
Say no to single-use plastic bags. They are destroying our environment. Water bodies contribute to most of the rubbish in open spaces and gutters, contributing to floods. Fish and livestock are ingesting plastics, which poses danger to our health. Plastics take ages to decompose and are harmful to the environment. Be responsible. Join eco-conscious citizens in supporting International Plastic Bag Free Day and say no to plastic bags. Use a basket, jute bag, or other biodegradable bags on 3rd July and every other day.
Agriculture plays a crucial role to our country's development with a huge contribution to Ghana's GDP whilst providing for our food needs at the same time.
They should know that Agric is the backbone of every country. Honestly, you began by giving us the percentages, but it used to be 70% that Agric contributes to the economy. It's because of certain lapses that has made a figure decline.
I don't know why they see farming as a bad occupation, because in other developed countries, they take Agric very seriously and they make a lot of money out of farming. They use a lot of modern technology to improve their yield, but over here we only see it as the use of certain man-made or small implements such as cutlass and hoe, which don't really do much. If you want to go into mass production, which will bring you a lot of money, you use a lot of modern technology that will help improve the yield.
Time to put the spotlight on agriculture value chain in Ghana on Agric Panorama on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Agric Panorama is a radio program that is aimed at creating a unique platform for all farmers, traders, processors, transporters, wholesalers, and all other actors within the Agric value chain. Agric experts, policymakers, students in agriculture, and other stakeholders as they participate in a panel discussion to unravel all that matters to improve agriculture and agribusiness sector, which is the backbone of Ghana's economy.
It's beneficial to the country in the sense that the non-companies in this country, the products these companies bring out are from Agric, or the raw products are from Agric, which has been processed into finished goods.
With Agric, as I was coming, I wanted to do biology, but my grandfather was the person who told me that, why don't you try agriculture? Because I'm a farmer and look at where I am. So you can also try agriculture and then you can see how far you go.
Agric Panorama will be broadcast live from the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can listen and contribute to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Also watch it live on YouTube or Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Ɔdadeɛ Radio, shine the light.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
and for the development of Mother Ghana. Recent global events, which have led to a food crisis across the world, call for greater appreciation of what our farmers and fishers here in Ghana have done and continue to do for us. On a daily basis, there are news reports of countries struggling under the combined weight of the forces of the COVID-19 pandemic, the climate crisis, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The effects of these forces entail disruption of supply chains, hikes in fuel prices, spiraling inflation, and sharp reductions in economic growth. On the agricultural front, the impact is seen in the shortage and high cost of critical inputs for farming, such as fertilizers. Significant rises in fuel prices globally have contributed to rising prices of foodstuffs across the world, and Ghana is no exception. In response to the impact of the challenges to general food security, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, rallied world leaders to a food system summit in September 2021, in which I participated on the sidelines of the meeting of the General Assembly to strategize on how to mitigate the growing threat to food systems. The emphasis at the summit was to help avert extreme poverty and looming hunger, as specified in the UN Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2, respectively. It was a call to action by all countries to prioritize agriculture and recommit to the transformation of food systems to build resilience and ensure sustainable food security. In this respect, I find the theme for this year's Farmers' Day celebration, accelerating agricultural development through value addition, most appropriate and timely. Value addition as a means of accelerating the development of agriculture is one of the logical strategies for ensuring food security, and rightly so. I say this because of the perennial problem of poverty experienced in most countries, including Ghana. Since 2017, strategic interventions in the agriculture sector have emphasized value addition through the implementation of the One District, One Factory flagship program by government. It is instructive to note that 172 of the 296 factories to be established under the program are agro-based, processing the rapidly increasing farm output of our farmers. Clearly, it is evident Ghana has been put firmly on the track of value addition.
Well, so you are welcome. You are welcome back. So you heard what the president had said. Before I come back to my panelists, let me go back to my sponsor, Nationwide Technologies Limited. He's a proud sponsor of Agric Panorama program. Nationwide Technologies Limited, distributors of Solnox Advanced Fuel Conditioner as an environmental green product. If you want to patronize their products, please call 05401 206994 or 0541 670 666. Yes, so as we were saying, you heard the president, and definitely the attention has been put on accelerating agriculture development through value addition. And as I was saying before the break, every year when we have our Farmers' Day, we have a theme, and we identify the problems that we need to address to put us on track. I'm asking the question, why haven't we been able to do this all this while? You know, And if we look at what they are proposing now, value addition, how are we going to do this? You know, and I was talking to Mr. Okiteku before.
Yes, yes, I think you are right. I had a president write, all right, and he actually said it that the topic for this year's Agric Day was really very, very timely, accelerating agriculture development through the value addition.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think that as a nation, Ghana, we know that Agric is really the backbone of our economy. Everybody knows this. Now, the question is, why is it that we have not prioritized agriculture in the past and even at the present moment? So it means that what we need to do now is to begin to prioritize all sectors of agriculture so that we will be able to achieve our objective. The objective being what? Being able to feed ourselves, like our brother said, and then producing enough and then adding value to it before we even export them. Because if we produce a lot without adding value, it means that we are selling the primary, commodities. And then it ends up creating jobs for the countries that are buying from us. So at the end of the day, we lose value on our produce, and then again, we also give other nations the opportunity to produce jobs which we could have done here. So I think that the policies of the government of every government that comes into power in Ghana must be deliberate. Deliberate in the sense that Agric must be prioritized. And in prioritizing, you have to take all the sectors very serious. Every sector is very important. If you want to take the land tenure system, most of the lands that we're talking about private commercial farmers, and it's very difficult to get very big lands in the southern part of the country unless you go to the Shanti region and beyond. So it means that even in land tenure systems, the government must have policies that will encourage farmers to be able to cultivate very, very large farms. And then again, also, I think that there must be policy timelines on some policies that will deliberately make sure that some of the produce that we are importing will cease. We should have to give ourselves maybe 5 to 10 years. We should not be importing rice and this, but then deliberate effort must be put in place, and it must be backed by resources, because you can't just say it and then will not help the farmers. You don't motivate them. You have to make sure that a chunk of our budget is actually directed into Agric, the Agric sectors. And I also think that we have to depoliticize Agric as much as possible, so that one government leaves power, the next one comes, he will be able to also continue all the good policies that the previous government has initiated. And that is also very, very important. And like you also said, Agric also needs money. So it means that the government must also find a way of giving some loans to farmers at reasonable interest rates. And then also creating the atmosphere conducive enough for them to be able to produce, make profit, and be able to pay back their loans. It is very critical. My father was actually a farmer. So some of the traditional farmers in Koforidua. So I know a lot about farming. When anytime I vacate in place, I can go back to Koforidua and then.
Okay, so we have a commercial farmer. Mr. Marty, are you online? Are you with us? Hello, Mr. Marty. Is Mr. Marty online? He's not online. Okay, so
He's not online.
I wanted to ask him about, what his thoughts were in terms of increase in production, and as a commercial farmer, what he thought about accelerating agriculture through the value addition. For me, listening to the president yesterday, I did not get the sense that there's a strategy for this value addition. I didn't see it clearly. I don't know whether somewhere in the speech it was clearly, indicated that this is the strategy that we are going to go along with. But Fico,
Yes.
I don't know whether you saw that in the speech.
Yeah, I was rather taken up. What caught my eye was the statistic that, with respect to our agro business, as much as 97% are small scale and 3% are medium base. So it means that, like Davis Carbo observed yesterday, our agro business side or processing is very, very formative, still in these formative years, because all that the 97% of our processing is to just be doing plantain chips here and there and some canning of vegetables are very, very, and it's something that we need to look at. For me, the lack of political commitment, I'm not going to blame the government so much. I'd rather blame the absence of Agric-related NGOs that will keep government on its toes. If you look at the oil sector, we have 2 or 3 NGOs in Ghana, or civil societies, that are always monitoring Ghana's oil and petroleum. They are in the news, blah, blah, blah. So we also need Agric-related civil organizations that will be following up on these promises. Yesterday they said that there's a land bank, in which Keteku was talking about access to land. There's a land bank at Bono East. The question is, we are in December. We've made that the government is working on the land bank. If you want to do farming, and rightly observed by, pointed out by Keteku, you cannot get it in the south, so up country. So the government is working with, there's a name they gave to it in the speech yesterday, land bank. But the fear of people is that if we don't take care, the 2023 will come and not even a parcel out of this land bank would have been allocated, because of the way we go about things, the bureaucracy, the feet dragging, a lot of paperwork and all those things. But if we have a civil organization related to Agric calling government and holding government's feet to the fire, government will seem to be more proactive in terms of implementation of some of these lofty ideas they're talking about. So we need to look. And then finally, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Agric, they have a lot of power. They should be able to, from time to time, get the policy, the politicians and the executive, the Ministry of Agriculture, to come for hearings. They should be able to hold hearings. Let's say, okay, we gave you a budget of 100 million for Agric. This was going to fishery sector. This was going to this. Come and report. Even it could be informal meetings. Come and report on how the situation is going. We don't want to wait for 1 year before the Ministry of Agric brings another budget. So our legislature too should be able to, and these select committees in advanced countries, these select committees on various ministries are very, very powerful. So they should be able to also come out of their shell and be seen to be doing more. I believe that if we are able to hold government accountable and monitor government on its promises, or just sound the alarm bell that, oh, you promised us that we're going to have this by June. June has passed. What are you doing about it? Because government may be focusing on health, will be focusing on education, and may not be keeping a very keen eye on its promises. So somebody must be able to bring government and say, look, you said this. You said by March, these fertilizers and these warehouses will be commissioned. Where are they? And all those things. We need to have such organizations in the system to remind government. I believe if we do that, we can make some progress, albeit very small, but we'll somebody realized that, hey, there's a big brother behind me watching me. If I don't do this, they are going to bring it in the press. They are going to make noise about it. And I believe we should be able to do. I mean, all is not lost. From the 65 years of our inactions, we should be able to pull ourselves together and do something in the next 5 to 7 years meaningfully. And if what Ketikus suggested, if government A comes and is living, whatever blueprint he has is a national blueprint. If he has 10 warehouses at roofing stage, I am bound to come to power to complete the 10 warehouses because there's a national blueprint. You know, we need to do something because 65 years, like Amati said, we could have done better. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Oforinyaku. Mr. Oforinyaku.
For me, I think the government.
Mr. Oforinyaku, please, people are not sure who you are, so because we didn't get your formal introduction, so please, if you can, yes.
My name is Yao Oforinyaku officially, and I belong to the class of 81, based in Silicon Valley, California. I'm here on vacation for 2 weeks, a working vacation, and I'm glad to be on this show. So that's a brief introduction of myself, and now I'll make my final comments on this topic. So this is what I think. I believe the government is allocating sufficient funds to improve agricultural production. It is the oversight, the lack of accountability. People get away. They are not punished even if they cause us a lot of financial loss. And that is where we need to be powerful. We need to empower our system to go after people who cost us a lot of financial losses. I believe strongly that the government funds agriculture. Half of the money ends up in people's pockets. There is no oversight, there's no supervision, there are no timelines, nobody's held accountable. And that's where we have an issue as a country. If we can resolve that boldly, trust me, things work efficiently. Now, a lot of people want to use, let's say, the US as an example, always as a reference point. The only difference is accountability. You cannot blow 1 cent of the county's money and get away with it. It will not happen. And that's what we lack. That's all I have to say. We need to improve accountability, hold people accountable, and things will change.
Okay. Mr. Magweni.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear anything about a sort of strategy that is going to be used to accelerate this vision that they have to really develop agriculture through the value addition? Did you see anything like that?
I must admit, I haven't heard all the speech or read all of it, so I'm not in it. But what I would like to say is that if you're going to add value, you're going to add value to a raw material. You must get that raw material first into wherever it is so that you can add the value to. My challenge is that the system really does not allow you get these raw materials. I mean, we've heard a story. You can have a tomato factory in Ghana who's crying for tomatoes, and you can go to some place and you have farmers with tomatoes crying for buyers. There's something wrong here. So it's not just about, for me, it's not about the value addition, which is important. You add value to it, and then we will make more and things like that. But before you can add the value, we have to check how to get the raw materials at a good price. First of all, it has to be in good condition, the good type. The tomatoes here, for it's not the tomatoes for an industry. Okay, so the tomatoes is a wrong tomatoes. You have to get a variety with less water. Nobody's going to use electricity to evaporate all those water to make any sort of tomato puree or something like that. So you have to get the right raw material, right timing, at the right price. How do we get these things going? Then the value addition will be effective. If not, you can have something and so expensive that it comes back to square one. So for me, it's the production side which I want to really see. It looks like we all think somehow that we are producing enough. And I remember the first time I saw somebody with a basket of cassava going to the bourgeoisie factory. I was scared. Because if you look at the production technology and the capacity of the bourgeoisie, I'm not expecting to see baskets on some people's heads going there.
Trailers full of.
Yes, and it can work day and night. It's a machine.
Yes.
You know, and so I'm seeing, and it can. You don't always have to get it from the. Sometimes the political things, the bourgeoisie people think is for them. So you can bring cassava from any part of Ghana. Within 24 hours, you should be at bourgeoisie, putting it into that machine and letting it work. It's a machine. If you have your maintenance line well, it will work. But when I saw somebody basket on the head going to the it's something, So please, let's get the basics right.
Fundamentals are all right.
The fundamentals should be correct. First of all, I like we have to have role models. I like Fico's listen about trying to help the big farmers first, in a way, and then also the accountability is all over. We have to. You cannot just be playing about. But big farmers, let's see some role models. Let's see some rich farmers. It encourages people, In
fact, not to cut you.
Yes.
Recently, an MP has said that it is only when you want to remain poor that you go into farming. Yeah. And as an MP, he himself has ventured into several areas of agriculture and is discouraging people from going. A lot of people feel discouraged. I have been in agriculture for the last 20-something years, and I feel hugely discouraged. As much as I have hope, there are a lot of things that I have tried that in a way hasn't gone well. So in as much as, the government talks about 1D, 1F in a lot of these districts that are almost at completion stages and stuff, but I worry in the sense that after you have done these factories, are they able to continually supply people who have invested huge amounts into factories, the raw materials?
It's a problem. You have to go into yesterday we saw one, it used to be a dynamic poultry farm, and we were shocked. 1 whole or 2 whole lines, their buildings are in sections. 2 of them were empty. Empty. And I was afraid to go and ask what is happening. We used to get our distance from there, our manure.
Okay.
So something is happening. So let's get the system. It's not rocket science. We have to sit down.
That is why I asked the question. I haven't seen any strategies they are talking about in how they are going to achieve this. We have to buy into this strategy. I think Fico was talking about a situation where you have MPs who are the ones who are passing the laws. There must be lobbyists. There must be people who are constantly asking the questions, demanding and pushing government to if it is money they have to put into it, has the money been put in there, that sort of thing. People are talking about getting cheap, constant supply of fertilizer. Are we getting it? So there are a lot of missing links.
I think we should, like Keteku said, it's a deliberate thing. You have to make it that, look, we are going to develop our country through agriculture, and deliberately said that is what we're going to do, and find strategies around it. I really don't know what really Ghana sells to make money. Is it the cocoa? If you compare the cocoa to how much we are bringing in. You know, all these years, have we added another sort of cocoa, you know, that also brings money, maybe add value to it? Have we been able to do that? Sometimes too, we take too many products, you know, and we discussed it. I think we went to the tree crop.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about 6 of them.
Yeah.
You know, and well, I don't know what it is. Maybe somebody will say you are not developing my area or something. I don't know what it is, but we have cocoa, which is a model. It's working in a way, you know. Let's have another one or two. Try and develop it, and this time try and add value. The cocoa self, we are not adding value, but it's something else. But add value to the next one.
Cashew.
Yeah, it's cashew. It's cashew. It's palm. It is coconut, and then they added mango.
Mango. It's about 6 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to develop 6 like that. I don't know.
At the same time.
At the same time, let's take 1 or 2. If it's cashew, how are we going to do it? Take our time, look at it.
I like what
and
the
develop
how.
it.
I don't see any strategy, and I've been worried since 2017 that I have not seen strategies that are going to allow us to be able to reach.
All the strategies, and just a one-liner before Kwame completes his submission is, you see, and then also to feed from the criticals, there must be a deliberate. I like that adjective you did, but deliberate,
intentional,
in the sense that, let's say the Ministry of Finance is supposed to release funds. We don't want a situation, if there's a deliberate policy, Agric should be on top.
Yeah.
So we don't want to say oh, the Sikana Abano, Sikana Yunamba, it's the first quarter, Munji say, those things. If you have a deliberate policy, you give Agric its full amount. I don't know whether I'm making myself. You give amount, Agric is full. You don't prorate. So Sikana Abba revenue, it's not that much. So Weji kakra, lalasu. No. If you have Agric as top of your top priority, money for importation of equipment, tractors, and full amount. You pay the people, and then they bring the tractors, and then within 2-3 weeks, it's cleared at the harbor. I mean, that kind of strategy of, I'm a little bit, I won't say government is not serious, but be more upfront. Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
they are not serious.
the money allocation of resources because sometimes they say, oh, it has been approved at cabinet. Then another 2 weeks, 1 month, go to finance. Finance people are saying we are establishing this. We will release the money, and every time money release is in arrest. Even money for district assemblies or whatever, or every time the thing is 3 months in arrest. We need to change that for Agric. Agric money should not be in arrest. Yeah. Pay it straight away or give it a priority so that Agric can help. They give the priority to them. Let them get their full amount. That is the only way. Thank you.
Yeah, you see that, you know that they projected that there's going to be hunger. I mean, worldwide. Ghana is no exception. But one of the main issues has also been the fact that Ukraine is one of the biggest producer in Russia of fertilizers and supply of grains. Now, how is it possible that in Ghana we can't even produce our own fertilizer here, and we are still dependent on fertilizers being imported? Of course, if you want to increase production, one of the key things is to ensure that the farmer who you are asking to produce more has the resources to do that. The small resources that we get in Ukraine. Look, farmers last year were crying that they couldn't even get fertilizer.
Yeah, see, fertilizer is it's a big political thing. Yeah. But
meanwhile, they will give it to one person to supply, and there are all sort of things going on there. But by the time the thing actually even comes, that part is being smuggled. There's a political thing in there. By the time it gets to the farmer, the season is over already. He's depending on the rain. You understand me? And he's planned that.
It's a good point. It's a good point because 65 years after independence, we should have a major homegrown fertilizer plant.
Yes.
We should have it. 65 years. We should have a major homegrown fertilizer plant. There's no two ways about it.
Especially
There's
when
no
we
two ways
found
about it.
oil, huh?
Yeah. And we heard them say at some point in time that they were going to put up a factory for fertilizer. Where has it reached? How is it going? Are they getting the funds to do it? You know, so for me, when I talk about the strategies, I don't see what they are doing for specific areas that they are targeting to ensure that we are accelerating this whole thing we are talking about. You know,
I mean, it could also be that we are applying too much academic, looking at Agric from academic perspective. Sometimes that is the issue. When the textbook approach becomes very pronounced in any field, it takes away the layman approach. You know, what am I talking about? The textbook try to dictate, oh, let's do this, we do this, we go about this, we do this. SWOT
but that
analysis,
is planning. It's
this
planning.
and that, go for this, and according to this author, according to that author. All I'm saying is this is it should be sometimes the layman approach is that Agric force you with the president or calls the minister says, I want this is what I've got reports that the eastern region or whatever region that the farmers are saying that they've not got their allocation of this thing. Can I have this thing sent to them within a week? So that the minister or whoever is responsible will not go back to his ministry and call somebody else and say, let's go for this meeting, and you just go and make sure the thing is sent. So sometimes the layman approach to getting problem resolved should also come in. Too many committees and levels of
but that is why they decentralized a lot of the things. Now you have decentralized it, but they are not able to do what they are supposed to do. You know, if you decentralize a thing like agriculture, and let's say at district level, the extension officers are saying that we don't even have fuel to go to the farms, and the fuel that is being given has to be given not by the director, the agri director there, but the DCE. The DCE there is thinking that I want to be re-elected. I'm not going to be looking. Nobody would think of extension officer going. They want to see, you know, physical things. So that's what he's looking at. You know, so a lot of things.
And so that,
yeah.
Just before I leave, last week, one of our colleagues, Kibi, Daniel Prefect, all of you know Kibi, he was with WHO, but he went to Sudan for a conference. His first observation when he called me was, wow, these people are just using the Nile River in the desert area for all their irrigation purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes, Egypt and Sudan, it is the Nile that is the main source of livelihood. Everything is, even in terms of population, everybody is staying along the Nile. Mm-hmm. The rest is desert. But they realize that in the Nile, that is their survival depends on the Nile. So they are using irrigation and other things to beat the hardship the desert would have imposed on them. So what I'm saying is that within our system, we must also see that, look, we have this. We can use this resource we have to change the narrative. You know, sometimes there's nothing. Right within our own observation and circles, we should be able to adopt something and say, look, this is it. Let's go for it. So like Kwame is saying, why focus on 6 cash crops? Throw a die or dice or what this thing, and or put the 6 in the bag and let somebody pick. If he picks mango, let's go with it, because you are saying all the 6 cash crops are important. So just pick one, do it for 3 years, come for the second one, as opposed to having all the 6 on board, because you don't have the resources and you may not make much progress. So Kwame, before you leave, decide for us, and then we can take it up.
Thank you. I wouldn't have all the parameters, but yes, you asked the question, what would be my priority in agric development of this country? My priority will be, like I've already said, agric infrastructure, that we should have a way because it's expensive. It's expensive for every farmer. If you have a way, just like as we do roads, as we build hospitals, a way that government can make some money just for developing agric infrastructure. The land bank can be one way of doing it, but it's not. When you say land bank, I don't know what it means here, but this should be lands that are cleared for agric purposes, has roads, has irrigation, has those type of things. That's what I believe. I hope is the land banks that they are saying. But government should find a way. It can be just like the Ministry of Roads and Highway or something. It should be something, because it is expensive and it's also quite technical in its way. Agric is not like roads where you can just clear all the soil and bring. No, it's technical in this way. There should be a way, some percentage. Those economics know what to do, but some percentage of some tax somewhere, which we are using to develop our infrastructure. The infrastructure first will be the clearing, land clearing for agric purposes, the irrigation where we have water, and the roads, that agric roads that are in, so that I can bring, or railway, whatever it is, that can bring food first to whatever center first. I think that should be done. When we do that, listen, we can have machinery that will keep long. People can use smaller machinery that are affordable to buy, and let me add this, because I have not seen so many excavators in Ghana like these days doing the galamsey and things like that. So it's not like there is no way to find some money. If I was looking at it and I said that if all these excavators were bulldozers for land clearing purposes, we would have been doing so well in agriculture here. So there is some way that we can make money or have money to do. Maybe because farmers are not rich, so the galamsey thing makes people. Because if you see the number of excavators that are in the country, destroying lands, because destroying the land, because I wanted another word, but I can't find it. It's destroying the lands and poisoning the water and things like that. It's the same way, but that energy can be used in land development for agric and dams for irrigation. The second thing that I see, and we have a problem with the young people riding the Okada. It doesn't give us any more hands. But let's get the positivity out of it. The Okada is just like small, good machinery that people use, the power tillers and things like that. If you have a land which is really cleared for agric purposes, you can use those small machinery. What I see from a mechanization point of view, yes, we might have people riding Okada, which is all illegal. But then for the first time, you have young people who have had their hands on machinery. They now know what is clutch, what is brake, and some of them have also tried to repair and things like that. We can turn those energies around, and have some power tillers, something, but you can only use this equipment when the land is properly done for agriculture. So galamsey, how they got all those excavators, let's find a way and get excavators and bulldozers to do things. All these Okada drivers and things like that, we can use them to really do the real mechanized, small scale machinery that is affordable and things like that. Those who are repairing the motorbikes. And then one last thing, I saw somewhere, this thing that they used to build, the gold, the galamsey, this thing, I've forgotten the name for it. But
or whatever they call it.
No, there's another bigger one that, and I see the welding technology and things like that. People are building it here. I looked at it and I said, look, these people can now build and weld kettles and processing plants and things like that, Let's look at it and have a strategy. We can use them. Now, In Ghana now, how they were able to build those cleaning, washing, I think this is a washing bay for gold and things like that, with all the rollers and things like that. It's not a small technology. Such people now, out of a bad situation that we have, I'm sure if we think about it, we can use it to do things. We can build easily, those people can easily do kettles for boiling, rollers for transportation, things that we need in any processing company. So let's think about it and see. And we can have a plan and build the infrastructure. Once you build the infrastructure, well, I'm sure we can get some raw materials coming in, and then you can add value to it. Without raw materials, the right raw materials at the right time, at the right price. Thank you.
Okay. So we are just about to start wrapping up, and we've been talking about reflections on agriculture 65 years after independence. If you want to join the discussion or send us your comments or suggestions, you can do so through our WhatsApp 02000 92 5, or our Facebook Ɔdadeɛ Radio, Instagram or Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio, and basically send us a message. We are streaming live on Ɔdadeɛ Radio on Facebook. Yes, we have a comment. This is from Paul Mante. He says, I remember the Ghana Food Distribution Company during the 70s and early 80s. It collapsed because the road network was non-existent. And as Mr. Makuhine has said, processes and departments or sectors must be looked at and put in place. We must revisit that model. Looks like the baby was thrown away with the bath water. Let's look once more at national distribution program, which will take into account road networks, time scales, quality control, and product enhancement for value addition. All right, thank you for that comment, Paul Mante. So we'll be wrapping up very shortly, and I want to quickly just summarize some of the things that we identified as the causes that have slowed our development. And since we are talking about acceleration, we have to look at how we can, mitigate some of these challenges. We identified Agric finance. We looked at irrigation. We looked at the transport system. We looked at our storage. We looked at our infrastructure, poor infrastructure. And recently all these things have affected, food prices. It has come together to affect people. Like, people are complaining, And so we are looking at accelerating agriculture through value addition, And so I'll quickly just come back to my panelists so that we can all give us our concluding remarks as we try and close this program. Quickly, Mr. Keteku.
Thank you very much, Senior Zonda. Yes, I think it has been a very healthy discussion so far. And we all agree that agriculture is the backbone of our nation's economy. So what I want to emphasize is that the government must do everything possible to make Agric attractive to especially the youth who are coming up. And how do we do this? It means that Agric must be prioritized. All the resources that are needed must be made available. And the technical knowledge should also be made available. So in conclusion, what I would say is that Agric must always be the priority of the government. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Figo, we are concluding. We'd like to hear your final comments. Can you hear me, Figo?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah.
I think the glass is half full, not half empty. We should still be very optimistic that we can turn things around. The last 1.5 hours, even at our level, that we've tabled and identified the issues that must be tackled. But if there's any takeaway from today's program, it is the submission by Iteku that there should be a deliberate attempt. And that is the key word which means that we must make a very conscious and more focused effort. I believe we should be able to turn things around. All is not lost. All is not lost. If we have a 10-year program, the first 3 years, short term, medium term, up to 5 to 7 years, and by the 10th year, we should be able to turn things around. We have 3 faculties of Agric or even 4 now in the public universities. So in terms of research and academia contribution, we have it. Kwame's point about industry leading the approach, industry making the demand for its produce is also something very, very important we need to look at. The industry must dictate the level of production and not the other way around of producing and selling to industry. Let's have the industry saying that, look, we can turn this into that. Therefore, we are going into Agric and let the Agric people give us the produce. I believe we should do well, and it's been a very nice discussion. I must apologize if I cut people across because that is the Accra House. That is, we always, when we are doing discussion, sometimes we are a little bit impatient. So if in the course of the program I was cutting people, just let it pass. Thank you very much.
Okay. Kwame, what are your concluding remarks?
Yes. Yes, I also believe what, like Keteku said, you should intentionally, purposely try and develop Agric. It's not cheap. It's expensive, but I believe that it is the way to transform your economy. We haven't talked about all the things that comes out of Agric, from education to building to social science and all the engineering and everything, building, mechanization, so many things. I just talked about a bit of welders and operators, and so many things can be developed just by having your agriculture right. And I think that it should be purposeful. You just have to say, I'm developing Agric, and then put some money there, get people doing, and then I'm sure we can develop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me acknowledge our main sponsor, Nationwide Technologies Limited. It's a proud sponsor of Agric Panorama that comes to you every weekend. Nationwide Technologies Limited are distributors of Sonox Advanced Fuel Conditioner, an environmentally green product. If you want to use their products, you can really get to them on 05041206994 or 05416706666. Sonox reduces fuel consumption, it reduces your running costs, it reduces emissions, it prolongs the lifespan of your engine. It's an ISO certified company, and its services include fuel marking, product authentication, ultrasound tank testing, tank stratification, and calibration. I would like to use the opportunity to also encourage others who want to sponsor this program to call us and come and encourage and keep us going. Agric Panorama needs you. The program, it's just a program that we generally discuss national issues in agriculture and try to bring to the fore all issues that are affecting the rapid development of agricultural sector. We also want to spark the interest of all Ɔdadeɛs and Ɔdadeɛ students in agriculture, and encourage the students to take up agriculture as an alternative career option. We want to mentor some of these students. We want to share the rich experiences of Ɔdadeɛs in agriculture and network amongst ourselves, encourage ourselves and develop, and influence the national agenda in agriculture. We want to discuss new technology and ways and methods to improve food production and the general agricultural economy. The program enables us to tap into rich experience of some of our program guests to provide information to people already in agriculture. Next week, we will look at the National Farmers Day, and we hope to be able to speak to the newly crowned national best farmer, who is an Ɔdadeɛ, Mr. Strebo. We want to once again take the opportunity to congratulate him and wish him all the best and hope that we can tap into his rich experience. You will come and join Agric Panorama so that we can ask him a few questions and how he's done it, and the sort of challenges that he has faced, and hopefully how the support he has got and all that. He will be joined in the studio by a former best national farmer as well, Mr. Jim Boat, who will also join the discussion on how this National Farmers Day has been done. Has it been successful? Has it motivated enough? Is it encouraging? What can they do to improve it and things like that? So hopefully next week we'll come your way again with Agric Panorama. Thank you all for coming, and I want to say a special thank you to Edifico, who yesterday, as late as just a few hours ago, was up, facilitating one of our other programs. Thank you to my guest in the studio, Mr. Amakuhini, our regular host. I'm his co-host. Mr. Keteku, thank you for coming, spending your morning with us. Mr. Forinyaku and Mr. Anstre, who were earlier on with us via Zoom. I would like to use the opportunity to encourage all of Ɔdadeɛs to try and join this program, participate. You can learn one or two things from experienced hands. People who have been in the sector for a long time and continue to do a lot of work in the sector. We also have a platform which is Ɔdadeɛs in agriculture. If you are into agriculture or you are farming or anything of the sort, you are in the value chain, please reach out to us so that we can put you on this platform. It's an interesting platform where we help each other, we ask questions, we discuss things, live debates go on every day, so do well to join us on this platform. So once again, this has been Agric Panorama. I've been your regular co-host. My name is Johnny Adufenin. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.